Most Star Wars fans know Jedi Master Aayla Secura for her exotic beauty and iconic blue skin. She was, however, much more than that. She was a dedicated and compassionate Jedi who earned the respect of her clones and the people she protected. However, this was not always the case. In fact, at one point, she served a Sith magician and even tried to kill her own master. Today, we'll be telling the full story of Aayla Secura's brush with the dark side.
Attention, Sergeant on deck!
Aayla Secura was a female Rutian Twi'lek, a member of a species often looked down upon in the Star Wars universe as a race of slaves, exotic dancers, and sex workers. Rutians like Aayla had vibrant blue skin, which was rare among Twi'leks and highly prized in the slave trade. Sometimes referred to as tailheads, wormheads, and a host of other derogatory names, Twi'leks were distinguished by their bright skin tones and two long head appendages called leku. Aayla Secura's origin story is actually similar to Anakin Skywalker, as she was also a slave child to a local Hutt warlord before she was rescued and brought to the Jedi Temple. Despite the stigma that female Twi'leks were only capable of serving as slaves or exotic dancers, Aayla Secura broke many stereotypes in her time as a Jedi Knight and Master. She was a team player and built good working relationships with many other Jedi, especially through her undercover missions for the Jedi Council. She proved herself a loyal and capable Jedi even though she sometimes acted impulsively or mischievously, especially when her master Quinlan Vos was in trouble or with her feelings for Jedi Master Kit Fisto. She also learned to pass on her wisdom to less experienced Jedi. Aayla Secura was born on the Twi'lek homeworld of Ryloth, where the Hutts exported her people off-world as slaves. Ryloth was tidally locked, meaning half of the planet's surface was always facing the sun. This created two extremely hostile environments, the Brightlands, which faced the sun, and the other, the Nightlands, eternally shrouded in darkness. Due to these extreme environments, the Twi'leks often lived in caves, and while the Twi'leks themselves never developed hyperspace technology, the robust slave trade spread them far across the galaxy. This allowed them to integrate themselves into galactic society and politics through trade, negotiations, charm, and even seduction. Aayla was found by Jedi Padawan Quinlan Vos and his mentor Jedi Master Tholm on her home planet of Ryloth in 46 BBY, when she was just 2 years old. Even though she was the niece of the head of the Secura clan, she was kept with the Hutt slaves by her uncle Lon Secura to safeguard her identity and protect her from kidnapping. After saving the young Aayla from a rampaging Wampa that had escaped its cage, Vos shared with his master his suspicions that Aayla was gifted in the Force. She was later brought to the Jedi Temple in Coruscant to receive further training, and when she was 10 years old, she became Vos's Padawan learner. They went on many successful missions together, and over time she grew to respect and care deeply for her master, even as she could see how he was falling closer and closer to the dark side. However, this bond was tested when they went on a perilous mission back to her homeworld of Ryloth. Aayla and her master Quinlan Vos were tasked with investigating the source of a new drug on the market called Glitteryll, a combination of the spices Glitterstim and Ryll. Their investigation led them back to Ryloth, and it turned out that the source was Aayla's uncle, Pol Secure, who was involved in the smuggling of illegal spices. Unwilling to kill the Jedi, Pol instead gave them Glitteryll, which effectively wiped their memories and identities as Jedi. While Vos quickly succumbed to the drug, Aayla's Jedi identity repeatedly asserted itself, forcing Pol to give her Glitteryll daily until she forgot who she was. Vos woke up on the moon of Nar Shaddaa without any memory of who he was. He was being hunted by bounty hunters, though he didn't know why. He was rescued by Vilmar Grak, a Devaronian smuggler who explained to Vos that everyone had placed bets on when the Jedi would die. As they tried to escape, they were ambushed by two Jedi imposters wielding lightsabers, but Vos disarmed them and regained some memories of his Jedi training upon touching his lightsaber. After Vil failed to kill Vos himself, he changed his bet to favor Vos's escape and allied with the amnesiac Jedi. Vos and Vil managed to fight their way off Nar Shaddaa and escape on Vil's ship. After regaining more memories while on his homeworld of Kifu, Vos returned to Ryloth to look for Aayla. On Ryloth, Voss discovered that his cousin Asante Voss had stunned Aayla and was part of the plot to wipe their minds. She also revealed that she was working for Pol Secure when he and Vil stumbled into a secret cave that housed the massive spice spiders that produced the glitter stim needed to manufacture the drug. Asante was killed by the spice spiders when she was confessing to her cousin that she did it for the money and to escape her duty as a guardian. Furious about her death and betrayal, Voss confronted Pol and even threatened him with torture if he didn't disclose Ayla's location. Terrified for his life, Pol admitted that Aayla was actually one of the slaves that he had with him. Voss tried to give Aayla her lightsaber, but she could not remember him. Thrown into a rage, Voss blasted Pol Secure with force lightning and threatened to strangle him with his own leku, demanding to know the name of his patron. He got the name of Senator Chom Frey Ka, but before he could get any more information, Aayla used the force to push both Voss and Pol over the edge of a railing, leading to Pol's death. Horrified at what she had done, Aayla fled Voss to pursue her but was stopped by Vil, who tried to convince him that Aayla was not the Padawan he remembered. Forced to return to Coruscant, Voss apprehended Senator Chom Frey Ka and exposed him with the help of Vil and Mace Windu. Unable to help his Padawan because he was slipping to the dark side, Voss submitted to retraining with the Jedi Council. Meanwhile, Aayla stowed herself away on a smuggler's ship and headed to the planet Kifex, vowing revenge on Voss for the death of her uncle. On Kifex, Aayla felt a voice calling her to an ancient temple, where she found Sith magician Volf Karko and unknowingly released him from his stasis prison. Karko, an Anzati, was originally a Jedi but had fallen due to his species' urge to feed on the memories and life forces of sentient beings, which they euphemistically called soup. Realizing the threat that he posed, the Jedi Council had defeated Volf long ago and placed him in a stasis prison to contemplate the error of his ways. Karko decided to take Aayla as his new dark apprentice, gave her leadership of his Anzati slaves, and told her to gather the soup of the planet's inhabitants to restore his full strength. He planned to make Aayla his queen after he had escaped the planet. Back on Coruscant, the Jedi Council received a request from Tinte Voss, the ruler of Kifu and Kifex, for Jedi assistance on some recent attacks on local Guardians. The Council decided to send Quinlan to mend relations between the Jedi and the Guardians. Upon arriving at an outpost, Quinlan used his psychometric abilities and discovered that Anzati had killed the Guardians stationed there. Anzati ambushed him, but Quinlan was saved by his former master Thome, who explained that Anzati were not necessarily evil, but that their instinct to feed was primal. With the help of another Jedi Master on the planet, Master Zhao, they met at a cantina to seek out more clues regarding the recent Anzati attacks. During the meeting, Aayla Secura and a horde of Anzati attacked the cantina and killed many of the patrons there, drinking their soup and extracting their essences. Overcome with fear, Quinlan couldn't draw his lightsaber to fight. He only came to his senses when he was attacked by an Anzati. He then came face to face with Aayla, who, fueled by hatred, declared that Voss should die for the death of her uncle, and that she'd be the one to kill him, but not yet, as he still had a purpose. Voss was completely shocked and could not believe what his Padawan had become. Aayla left without explaining her intentions further with the Anzati after they had gathered enough essence to revive Karko. Quinlan became furious with Master Thome for trying to dissuade him from pursuing Aayla and took a speeder bike to follow her against Thome's advice. Together with Masters Thome and Zhao and the smuggler Vil, Voss pursued Aayla through a forest. There, they were ambushed by more Anzati. Eventually, the team was rescued by Jedi Watchman Tra Sa, who informed them that the Jedi Council was concerned about the developing situation. Refusing to give up on his Padawan, Voss and the other Jedi Masters discussed the possibility that Ayla's memories were still being suppressed by the drug, but were still there since Twi'lek's memories were stored deep in their leku, meaning it may still have been possible to save Aayla from the dark side. Then, the Jedi were ambushed once again by the Anzati and Voss was cut off from the others, forcing him to face Aayla and Karko alone. As Voss entered the temple, Karko commanded Aayla to kill him, sparking a fierce lightsaber battle. Outside, upon realizing that Voss was in trouble, the other Jedi focused their energy to help him concentrate. Hearing their guidance through the Force, Voss chose to lower his lightsaber, allowing Aayla to strike him down if she would. Aayla hesitated for a brief moment and recognized her master, only to get knocked out by Karku's Force lightning. With the additional strength Voss received from the 3 Jedi Masters, he was able to strike the Sith magician down. Mace Windu arrived with other members of the Jedi Council to pick up the Jedi, having feared the worst. Windu believed it would not be wise for Aayla to resume her tenure as Voss's Padawan because of how close both of them came to the dark side. Instead, the Council deemed it would be wiser for Aayla to go through retraining on Coruscant as her master had. With the help of her stored memories, she was able to make a full recovery and was soon back undercover, doing missions for the Council and, after facing General Grievous in the Battle of Hypor, getting promoted to Jedi Knight. So, that's the story of how Jedi Master Aayla Secura almost fell to the dark side. What do you think? Would Aayla have made a good Darksider, or was it better that she returned to the light? Let us know all that and more in the comments section below. As always guys, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.